Buying gifts for someone who collects cards sounds like it's pretty easy, but it can be kind of difficult. Happy Hobby, I'm David Ganas. If you're a sports card collector, that's what we do here. We talk about sports cards and collecting on a limited budget. And if you're someone who's watching this video because you're thinking of buying cards for a card collector, you're thinking of buying a gift for a card collector, that's what this video is going to be all about. We try to help you out because we know, buying something for a collector is a tricky proposition. They might already have everything that they want, or that's not the case. Just so you know, no collector ever has all of it. They're not like, I'm done, but they might have what you wanted to get them. So there's a lot of tricky spots, tricky things. So we're going to try to help you walk through that. You want them to be happy when they open it, right? You don't want them going, oh, yeah, thanks. You don't want that. So here's my first tip is ask to see your friend's collection. Sounds stupid, but just ask. By seeing their collection, you can ask them more questions as you're looking at their stuff. You get a better idea of what they'd appreciate the most as a gift. And there's different things. Sports card collectors, there's a wide range of sports card collectors. There's people that collect very new stuff. There's people that only collect vintage. There's people that collect a mix. There's people that would prefer to open up packs and boxes and get their collection that way. So first you'd want to ask them, so what's your favorite sport to collect? That's a key. You don't want to buy hockey cards for a guy that doesn't watch hockey, right? So you want to make sure you know the sport. Do they collect a certain team or a certain player the most? That's a key one. Now, if it's a certain player, you can go and look for some rare cards of that player. Maybe they're not big time cards that everyone knows about, but you can check on eBay. You can ask me, shoot me a question at ganascards@gmail.com. Ask me, what's a rare card? If this guy likes this player, what's something I should consider buying? And feel free to shoot me an email. I'm happy to help out. Another question you want to ask is, do they like vintage stuff? Or do they just like the new cards? Which is fine either way. If they're a young collector, they're probably not into vintage things. But if they're a young collector, you might buy them a vintage thing as almost like an investment. Remember when your grandma would buy you a savings bond or something? At the time, you're kind of like, I can't run my truck into this. That's no fun. So what I'm going to do with it. Vintage is like that. It's an investment. It's a good old card that they'll appreciate later on that you bought that for them because they weren't bright enough at the time to go buy any cards like that. So another thing you want to think about is buying graded cards. Now, there are raw cards, which means a card that's not graded, and there's graded cards. The reason I say buy graded cards is you're not the expert. You're not an expert. You're not even amateur. You're just some guy, some person, some gal that's buying a card for somebody else. So you want a third party, a grading company, to say this card, let me find a graded one. Find somebody to say this card you're thinking of buying for somebody is not just a good card. It's authentic. See, when you send this, when this gets through a grading company, they make sure that's authentic. They seal it so it can't be changed, and they give it a grade. So now you get to buy this for your friend and say someone else already said this is a great card, or actually someone else already said it's a great condition card or whatever. You still want to pick a good card. You don't want to get them some schlub, right? Or you want to give them a schlub. Okay, that's cool. But this way they authenticate it. It's protected. It's sealed. It's easier to evaluate. In other words, if you were saying I want a Freddie Freeman rookie card, and you look up on eBay and there's ones that are raw, not graded, but there's ones that are graded, the prices are going to be different. But at least you know the graded one. You already know what the condition is. That's a PSA 9. I already know that should be around this price. But if it's not graded, you don't know what that condition is. So you could be paying PSA 9 prices. That card looks good, so I'm gonna get it and hope that's a PSA 9 or a 10. but it comes back, it's actually a 7 because there's a ding on it that you didn't see. Let the experts do their experting and let them grade it. Let them tell you this is authentic. Because if you buy an old vintage card, let me tell you, there's a few that I have that I thought were they were fine. Sent them in for grading, and they came back as authentic, but they were trimmed, and that's no good. You don't want that because there's some bad people out there who do stuff like that. So if it's not graded, you can't find that out. Also, if it's not graded and you're buying a really cool card that might be counterfeited, like a Michael Jordan rookie card, oh boy, those are a lot of counterfeit cards. So you want to make sure you get one that's graded by a known company. Beckett, PSA, SGC, CGC, those are the main ones. You don't want to go crazy and buy ones from some other company just because it's a higher grade and it's cheaper, because that might be a questionable company. They might have a lot of counterfeits out there that they were grading high, or a lesser card that they graded high. And your friend will want that graded by a good graded company. Also know that an 8 is like, if you get a PSA 8 of a newer card, like in the past 20 years, that's basically like a raw card, like a card that's not graded. That's about the equivalent. So if you're buying a graded card, you want to make sure you get like a PSA 9 or a PSA 10. PSA 10's the best. There's no cards that are better condition. So PSA 10 or SGC 10, whatever a 10 is, that's a gem mint card. There's no cards better. So you're giving a card to someone, you're saying, I got you the best. You're not going to get a condition better than the condition you got on this card. So that's cool. However, those could be expensive. PSA 10 is generally 4 to 5 times the cost of a PSA 9. So you can, you want to juggle that. You want to figure out, is it more important for him to get the card at a PSA 9, which is still mint condition, or do you want to pay the extra 4 to 5 times more to get him the gem mint 10? So it's you just got to try to figure it out, what the player is, who the player is, all that stuff. How valuable you think the guy does the guy's collection, when you went looked at his collection, were they all 10s? Did he have all nothing but 10s? If that's the case, you're probably going to want to buy him a 10, maybe of a lesser player or a lesser card. But if he has some 9s, 8s, stuff like that, then get him a 9. He'll be happy with that. Okay, some other ideas for card collecting gifts. Gifts for a person that collects sports cards. Just know that the best players often make the best gifts for card collectors. I also like to say that there's an article on davidganas.com that this video is basically mirroring. And you can go to that article at davidganas.com and you can see all the stuff that I'm talking about. It'll be on the homepage. You'll see, click off from there. But it's all the stuff that I'm talking about here, and it'll have direct links out to what you'd like to buy. So we're talking about the best players. People want the best players. So even if you don't know their favorite team or you don't know their sport or whatever, buying the best players, cards of the best players, is generally a good idea. We're talking about guys like Michael Jordan and Mickey Mantle and Wayne Gretzky, Nolan Ryan, LeBron James, Jim Brown, Tom Brady, Jerry Rice, all these guys, Ken Griffey Jr., they're super collectible. So if you buy a card of one of those players, a legit, tops, whatever card from their playing years, then that's pretty awesome. That's a good thing. They'll be happy with that. You can get a PSA 8 Upper Deck Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card, 1989, for about $100. It's a pretty good deal. Probably actually less than $100. So that's a pretty good deal. If you want to get him something like that, people are always happy with that card. It's the most graded card in the world. It's the most graded card anywhere. So there's a lot of them going around. The person might have one that's probably that they do have one, but maybe they don't have a PSA 8. So that's a good card to get. I like to think of the Mount Rushmore of vintage. So Mount Rushmore of vintage tops, baseball specifically. Mickey Mantle, Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, and Roberto Clemente. Those 4 players, if you buy any of their old cards from the 50s and 60s, whoever you buy them for is generally going to be happy. They don't have to be the crate. Now, Mickey Mantle is going to be expensive, super expensive, but they don't all have to be expensive, super expensive cards. you can get, there's the best cards to get is something called collector's grade. So it's the decade of the card plus one. So if it's a card from the 50s, if you got a PSA 6, that's a collector's grade. That's a really good card. Those are they cost a little bit of money. If you get one from the 60s, it's a PSA 7. Again, collector's grade, it's going to be a little bit more money. So if you think of it like that, now, just know that PSA 3, 2, 1, those are cards that are pretty damaged, pretty beat up. So if you get anywhere above that, that's good. A PSA 5, I'm fine with 5. If it's the same as the decade, I'm pretty fine with that. Like for the 50s, a 5. The 60s, a 6. 70s, still probably want a 7 or 8, possibly an 8 for that. Generally, that's how I like to collect, but I'm not everybody. But a collector's grade is 1+. It's good to know. And those 4 players, any cards from them, they'll be happy with. Also, think about wax. What's wax? Buying wax. Wax is basically what people refer to as unopened boxes, unopened packs, unopened boxes. Cards used to come in wax packs. They don't anymore, but they used to, so people just refer to product, unopened product, as wax. You can buy unopened product for someone, even old unopened product, stuff from the 80s for someone, and have them open it. That's pretty cool. My wife, for our anniversary every year, she buys me, among the gifts, she buys me a couple 1984 Topps football packs from baseballcardexchange.com, bbcexchange.com. They're pretty great. There's other companies. Dave & Adams Card World has a lot of great stuff, but BBC Exchange is really the one that's most notable for their authenticating older packs and boxes. So she buys these for me. We have a great time. She comes around. I open them up on video. It's a fun time. We have a blast. Looking for John Elway and Dan Marino cards. What's not fun about that? So consider that also. You can also buy a friend a spot in a card break. Now, a card break is where a bunch of people are basically buying one team or a couple teams of league. Let's say baseball. It's 30 baseball teams, so 30 people each buy one team, and then a breaker has a box or 2 or 3, and they open up whatever they open up. If it's for the team that you bought in on, you get those cards. So that's a break. You get all those cards. So the reason they're fun is you put in less money with a chance to hit really big cards. So it's you don't get a ton of cards back, but you're not putting a ton of money in either. So say it's a $500 box, or it's 3 boxes worth $500, and the breakers, I don't know how much they charge for that. Let's say they charge $50, or let's say they charge $40 for you to get in on this break. 30 people each put in $40. I don't know how that would work out. I'm probably way off on my thing. But now here, you only put in $40. You get one team, and there's chances at autographs that you could hit. There's chances at rare numbered cards that you could hit. So it's a lot of fun. You can buy your friend a spot in a break. And the way you do that is probably just tell them, hey, here's this much money. Go get into a break on Fanatics Live, or there's a lot of breaks, companies that do breaks on eBay. They do them on whatnot. So there's a lot of spots that you could do this with. Fanatics Live, probably the safest. You can also pay for your friend's Card Ladder membership. Card Ladder is, for me, it's the best card valuation tool there is. And what I mean by that is you put your collection, you punch in all the, your PSA certification numbers, and it tracks your collection for you. And it tells me every day. Every day I open it up, I see my collection's worth this much now. It tells you what that card, any card in your collection, what that card is worth right now. It tells you the latest sales, all that stuff. It's super helpful. It's about $15 per month, or you can pay for an entire year and you get 2 months for free. But that's at Card Ladder. I think it's cardladder.com, but cardladder.com. Makes sense. You can pay for someone to get their cards graded. Card grading is expensive. It's about $20 a card. Send to PSA or SGC. Now, if they go to PSA, you're going to need card minimums, usually about 10 cards. minimum to send to get the best deal, to get them at $20 per card. SGC, no minimum, but they're not as valuable in resale with SGC as they are with PSA. So your friend would probably prefer PSA for their cards to be sent to. But again, when you go and look at their collection, they have a bunch of SGC, which are the black slabs. You'll know the difference. This is an SGC, and this is the PSA. So you see the difference in the two slabs when you look at their collection. Then you'll know, right? That makes sense. Another good thing to buy for a sports card collector, and it sounds stupid, but sports card supplies. Why would you buy someone's supply? What a boring gift, buying someone's supplies. Here's the reasoning. Sports card collectors hate to buy supplies because they'd rather use that money to buy cards, right? Wouldn't that make sense? It drives me nuts when I have to buy like top loaders, these guys, or penny sleeves or anything like that. It drives me nuts. Boxes, anytime I have to spend money on that, that's no fun. So buying supplies is a good thing. It's cheaper. It's probably a cheaper thing for you to do if you don't want to spend too much money. That's still something that's going to be appreciated. You can buy 100 pack of of Ultra Pro, which Ultra Pro is considered pretty much the best. Ultra Pro 100 top loaders with 100 penny sleeves in there. You can get that. I think it's $15 on Amazon. That's a pretty good deal. You want to do that. Again, in my description, I'll have links to a bunch of stuff. You can go to my website, davidgunnis.com, and have all the links that you can go to there. Another thing to think about, speaking of Amazon, is this wall display case. I have 3 of them. You can see all up here. These are only $60 a piece. But holy cow, do they change your collection. Like putting your graded cards up there, you don't have to put graded cards. You can put just raw cards that you like up there. Man, it just makes your collection. It turns it into kind of like a little bit more of a museum or like pieces of art, if that makes sense. And I love going through them, changing them out, put different cards in there. During the off season, I'll put all the super old cards I have in there. Then during the in season, I'll switch them out and I'll put the newer guys that I have cards of. It's a lot of fun. $60 for each of these displays, and I ended up buying 3 of them. I started off with just one. That was good enough. And then I was like, I think I'm gonna need a second one. Got the second one, and of course I was like, well, I need one for each of the main sports: baseball, football, basketball. I don't have enough in hockey yet to get a new one, but who knows? Maybe someday, right? You can buy a card breaking mat, a mat that rolls out. It's basically just a little piece of plastic that rolls out, and that's what they open up their packs of cards on. That's fun. That's pretty cool. It's again, it's a sports card supply, but it helps them appreciate their cards better. When they're opened up on a mat, it's nicer because everything's right there in front of you. You don't have to worry about sliding. You don't have to worry about dinging corners or anything like that. It's a lot better on a mat. Finally, some other things I like are there's some great sports card collector books you should think about getting. Again, on Amazon, Mint Condition is the best book of any sports card collecting world. By far, it's the best book. Buy that for your card collecting friend if they read. If they're not readers, I don't know what to tell you. But if they read, it's a great read. It's the history of sports cards, but interesting. And once it gets past like the cigarette cards, man, it's fantastic. Like there's so much stuff I learned from that. That's a lot of fun. Great book, so check that one out. Finally, something again, talking about on Amazon, fun card collector t-shirts. They have some ones with little phrases and stuff that's fun. Like a phrase every card collector says to their loved one is just one more baseball card, I promise. And we all say it. That's why it's funny. And then I have too many baseball cards. Said no one ever. That's pretty good. Anyways, these are just fun. Good t-shirts you can get on Amazon. The Card Father, Gem Mint 10. Good stuff. But anyway, so that's what I had as my suggestions to you for gifts. Great, fantastic gifts for sports card collectors. I want to know, you might be a veteran card collector. Maybe you have an idea. What do you think people should buy for other people for card collecting? Like if they're a card collector, What's some suggestions? Put them in the comments below. If you're new to this video, obviously subscribe. But make sure you check out the comments yourself to see what other people are saying that they think would be a good idea to buy for someone else. But whatever you do, make sure you have a happy hobby.